Hey guys, today we're going to make this Clueless themed cake complete with old mobile phone. To start the topper, I'm using foam core. This is 5mm thick foam with 2 sheets of card sandwiched on the outside. It's great to use because it's so lightweight. Feel free to use whatever you like for your topper, but just be aware of its weight. I get mine in A3 sheets, I'll link them below. Firstly, cut out a piece of foam to the width you want your mobile phone to be. I didn't measure mine, I just eyeballed it. Then cut out another strip exactly the same. This is going to help bulk out the body of the phone. Next, trim them down to the height you want and hot glue them together. Once the glue is dry, cut off any bits that have bulged out and round out the corners. The beauty of foam core is that you can insert kebab sticks as supports very easily. I want my phone at an angle, so I'm pushing it up one of the bottom corners. Once you've got it in as far as it feels secure, chop down the excess a bit. You can use water to stick your sugar paste on, however the open sides of the exposed foam need something a little tackier, so I like to use piping gel. Next up, I have some black modelling paste. Yes, that's right, I rarely buy this stuff, but I've been giving it a go, especially in black. Roll out a piece, keeping it quite chunky, and cut out a rectangle the same width as your phone. Then, using a long knife, slice down at an angle to create a ramp. Place this with the ramp leading towards the centre and trim off any excess so it's the same size as the phone. With the remaining ramp, flip it over and apply a shorter piece to the bottom. So you have 2 raised areas at either end that slope down to the foam. Roll out some more black modelling paste and cover the entire topper. Trim off a little bit of the overhang so it's easier to handle. Then wash your hands, you filthy animal. Flip it over onto a foam pad so it doesn't damage your raised areas. Then with a scalpel, cut your paste flush. Glue the back and patch that with more paste. Now for some details. Take a rolling pin or cell pin and make an indent for the earpiece. Smooth out any lines with your fingers. With a small ball tool, indent a row of holes inside it. A Dresden tool will help with marking in a long thin rectangle shape below it. Don't forget to indent the mouthpiece too. With grey paste, roll out tiny tic-tac shapes and align them in a row of 4 along the top. Squash them down to create buttons. Then continue down until you have 5 rows. Paint time again. This one's my favourite black that I'll leave linked below. Water it down just a little bit and paint on the numbers and symbols with a fine paintbrush. This is optional, but I've got some colour splash hint of green. This type of dust shows up well on darker colours. I've just mixed this with some water and I'm filling in the rectangle. Let it all dry a little and then give it a spritz with some glaze spray to seal it all in and give it a bit of a sheen. Onto the cake part. Here I have a 7-inch round, filled, ganached and covered in Renshaw's hot pink. I'll leave links below to get you to this step, including the sharp edges. Cover your board in black paste. I'm using the toilet seat method again. I'll leave that linked in the iCard above for you to take a closer look at. But it just improves the bottom edge and gives a cleaner look. I've traced my text onto some greaseproof paper from the computer. We're going to do the letters first in white, so roll some out, place your template on top and trace around them with the Dresden tool to leave an impression. Then go back in with your scalpel to follow the lines and cut them out. Onto the black. Roll out a piece big enough to contain your oval and trace around the outer edge. Then go back in, but only trace the centre of the letters, not the edges. This will help guide you in placing the white letters inside. Once they are all in and stuck down, cut out the oval and place it to one side to firm up. We also need to prep some speech bubbles. Draw on some paper any quotes you want to include and draw speech bubbles around them. If you're not confident doing it freehand, you can trace some. Mark around the speech bubbles on white modelling paste and cut them out. Using some 20 gauge wire, dip one end into either water or glue and insert it directly into the point of the speech bubble. Hold onto the paste using your thumb on top and finger underneath so you can feel where the wire is moving up inside the paste. Make all of your different sizes and maybe some spare ones just in case. For some quick shopping bags, take some blue paste and squash it into a rough, chunky rectangle. Roll one end down onto the mat, leaving the other end bigger. Chop this down with a large knife until you have a rectangle bag that stands up. Mark in the opening on the top and a triangle on the bottom sides for folds. Make a few more in various colours and sizes. Now that the logo has firmed up, centre it onto the front of the cake with water. Add your name to the board at the front. I've used click sticks. I have a whole tutorial on how to use these which I'll link in the iCard. Line them up and then stick them into place. Carefully slide your phone down at an angle and rest it onto the sugar paste. With another 20 gauge wire, push this into the top of the phone and trim it to size for the aerial. Roll a small ball of black and push this on top. With your black paint and a fine paintbrush, insert your quotes. Push these in around the phone. They should be easily inserted into the earpiece as this was just a chunk of paste. To finish it off, the paint will easily cover the paper covered white wires. Camouflaged, it's still there, honest. Finish off the bags with logos or stripes and stick them in a cluster on the right side of the cake. Roll out a long thin strip of white paste and attach them to the tops of the bags as handles. For the pink pen, roll out a long thin sausage of paste and taper one end into a point. Trim it down to size, lay it onto your board and stick it down. For the fluffy top, take more paste in a ball and a small pair of scissors. Attack and snip the paste all over. Stick it to the top of the pen before continuing with the underneath. Lastly, paint the pen tip with the black paint. On to Cher. My camera didn't film the skirt, so here I am doing it all again. I just rolled a fat sausage, cut it down, placed it on the edge of the cake with water and flattened it out. Now we are caught up, you need 2 short white carrot shapes. Roll some small balls of flesh and attach them to the fat end of the carrot. Squash the flesh against the skirt for knees and blend the white upwards for socks. Place the other one on so the legs overlap slightly. Add tiny tic-tac shapes to the bottom for shoes. At this point, paint on the checker pattern with your black paint. For the body, roll out a small marshmallow shape and stick it on top of the skirt. The neck is a small ball of flesh pressed against the t-shirt at the front and then pulled upwards onto the top of the t-shirt. The waistcoat is a yellow rectangle with 2 triangles cut from the centre. Stick this onto the front. Her jacket is another larger rectangle with the sides slightly tapered towards the top. Wrap this around her body and fold over the very top edge to create a collar. Paint on the checkered pattern. Her hands are simply balls of flesh, one attached to her hip, and it's joined by a bent yellow sausage. To help keep things in position whilst drying, I use these kids' craft sponges because they come in many different shapes. This chameleon one has a long thin tail which fits great under Cher's hand. Whilst that firms up, we can work on her head. The style of these figures requires a large head, so I'm using a polystyrene ball to take most of the bulk. Grab a piece of flesh paste the same size and push the ball into the centre of it, working it all the way up and around it and sealing it shut at the top. Roll it between your hands to get rid of creases and insert a cocktail stick down for support. Wiggle this down the neck and through the body and skirt. Whilst that firms a little, we can cover the tier with tiny white hearts. I just used a plunger cutter and I've linked that below. Now wet the head ready for hair. I added brown to the yellow paste to make a different shade. Cut out an arched door shape, wrap this around the back of the head and then pull up any excess to a point on the top. Quick snip with the scissors will get rid of it. Before adding the hair at the front, continue the pattern of the jacket onto the arms. Some long tapered sausages will finish off her hair around the front. Almost there, just 2 small balls of black for eyes, velvet red gel watered down for her smile, black paint for eyelashes and eyebrows, and as always, tiny white balls for catch lights. Once her arm is dry, you can remove the chameleon. Don't leave it on the cake like I did once. And we're done. A quick but impressive looking lightweight topper, cute figure and pop of hot pink all come together to make this Clueless themed cake. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider sharing it on your social media as it helps me to continue make tutorials each Tuesday. Thanks guys, bye!